Coming into game number 2 on Belgium Vestige, we have Hyun starting to the top left here at the ZOTAC Cup Monthly Final. His opponent once again is Arthur, and Arthur is starting to the bottom right of the map, currently down 1 game. Arthur lost the first match on Daybreak after starting with a proxy gateway, with a double proxy actually. So a very, very interesting style here by Arthur, once again being really aggressive, but Hyun had his number. Really good defense by the Quantic player, and it's gonna be interesting to see what Arthur has up his sleeves in game number 2. Pylon already in the main base, so it looks more like we're going to see a bit of a gateway play than a Forge first, and this is really interesting because it's just one of those styles where we have a shift in the meta game. And I just want to talk a little bit about this. I have explained a lot about this in the GSL already, but I feel we can talk about this on stream here too. One of the things that happened in Wings of Liberty was that Protoss players were trying to find out, how can I open up against Zerg? How can I open up with a build that allows me to get a good economy and still be safe against early pressure from my opponent? And at the beginning we had 3 gate into expand, then it shifted a little bit, we had 1 gate into expands, and Protoss just realized that this was not really gonna do it, especially since Zerg really figured out the timings and really punished the opponents. So what happened after that was that the Forge expand became really popular. We had dual site, one of the maps where it first came into play. Tails and others, especially Naniwa, were big fans of the build, and it became the standard because it allowed the Protoss player to get a safe expansion early on in the game, but it also delayed tech, and this allowed Zerg to get an early 3rd base. Now in Heart of the Swarm it is a little bit different because we have the Mothership Core, and with the Mothership Core you can make a gateway expand viable because you have the Photon Overcharge that helps you against early aggression. And with this, a lot of Protoss players are now going back into starting with a gateway and then the Cybernetics Core, and this speeds up the entire tech process. Because you don't have to use the early minerals that you have for the Forge and anymore. You go into Gateway and then into Cybernetics Core. You tech up a lot faster, and you can hit timings against your opponent's 3rd base. A lot of Zerg players have been dying to this, or at least lost the 3rd base because they didn't really account for that. So Hyun is most likely not going to take an early 3rd. The usual timing for a 3rd base against Protoss, if the Protoss player opens up with a Forge expand or with a Nexus into Forge, is 420. That's roughly the time where we have most of them going into a 3rd. And Hyun is most likely not going to do this. If he does, it's a major risk. Most Zerg players will go into a faster tech, take the gas earlier, tech up a little bit earlier, and then get the 3rd base a bit later when they are safe against gateway timings. Right now we have the expansion here, and of course Hyun knows what's going on here. He has the Overlord already in position, and he will check if there is an expand to see if there's like a 1 base timing against his build, but that's not the case. He knows there's an opening with the gateway. So him taking the 3rd is not going to happen this early, and you can really see it already. 420 has passed. He might still take a 3rd, but at this point in time it's usually not going to happen. So it would be just a major risk. You can still do that. The Protoss player doesn't have to go for this style, but if he sees the 3rd, most Protoss players will say, okay, you know what, if I go into 3 gateways and attack you right now with my Mothership Core, you can't do anything about it. You might try to attack me, but I just can recall back with my Mothership Core, will be completely safe, and you will be the one that loses a lot of units, or at least has to sacrifice a lot of lava. Here come those extra gateways that I talked about as part of the wall now at the front. And Hyun is, as you can see, still not getting a 3rd base, and there's no reason for him to go into a 3rd. He's getting his speed, and you always want to have speed against gateway aggression, because that helps you a lot when you rely on Zerglings and don't head straight into Roaches. The Roach run timing usually changes also a little bit when you're up against gateways, but we will also see Hyun most likely go into the lair tech. He now is taking his 3rd a lot later, 1.5 minutes later than he would usually do, and at the same time he's getting the Roach Run at 6 minutes, because he is just making sure that he will be ready if there is going to be aggression. And by now we have the gateway research completed and the tech into Stargate instead. So a very, very different opening from what we used to see in Wings of Liberty, and a lot more aggressive. Mothership Core is already walking across the map, and we have a pylon over here. Warp in will be ready in a few seconds, so Hyun has to be careful here, but he should be able to hold this, especially now with the Roach Warren. Scouting is everything though, and the Zerglings are running in with speed, no problem at all, seeing what's going on here. Just a very, very Smart build by both players so far. Very standard, very crisp. And here you can see that the timing works out quite well for Hyun. His roaches are nearly there, but he needs to make sure that he saves this hatch. This is what he tries to achieve right now. Saving the hatch, saving Private Ryan. Both of those queens already on the move, trying to do some damage, but Hyun is actually underestimating the pressure a little bit. Arthur is completely focusing on this hatch, and Hyun has to cancel. Wow. Does he have a transfuse? He has one, but that's not going to cut it. Oh my god, Hyun. That was an oversight here. He was overstepping it a little bit. He thought he could save the hatch, but his timing was just slightly off, and Arthur identified it. Arthur went in and he saw, okay, you have 2 queens right now, you don't have a lot of units. If I completely focus on this hatch, I'm losing my zealots. I'm gonna lose them, but I will be able to kill the hatch, and that's all I need to do here. It's gonna be a trade well worth it for me, because you are losing a lot of mining time. And Hyun made the mistake of not cancelling the hatch. He should have realized that he can't hold it. So that was actually a really good job here by Arthur. But he's supply blocked after losing those 2 pylons, and he still has to hold. He has a few sentries back at home, but the first cannon is now just finishing. He doesn't have a second one, and Hyun is going to snipe at least the forge here. So all the units that are out on the map now for Hyun can do damage, and he's just rebuilding the third behind this, and his lair tech is also nearly completed. But the Void Ray alone will be able to take down those roaches. So Arthur with a build that allows him to throw back roach pressure. Really sweet, and you can really see how that works out for him. This is not a coincidence that the Void Ray is out just in time to deal with the reinforcements that Hyun sends over the map. So this is a really cool play that we currently have by the Protoss player. Hyun, on the other hand, is now heading into the Hydra Den, and he's going into the macro hatch in his main base as well as the third base that I talked about a little bit earlier. Yeah, Phoenix now can pick up another unit, assists a little bit, assists the Void Ray. And we have now... Oh my god, Arthur! What the hell? Third base coming up, and boom! Double Stargate. He probably talked to Alicia recently, and Alicia was like, well, Arthur, you know what? Void Ray, pretty good unit. And Arthur is definitely going to build a ton of those. He is getting the +1 attack upgrade for his air units, and he's going into 3 Stargates. He's gonna play Atos here, and massively favoring the Void Rays, as it looks like. So that's gonna be an interesting match between the two of them now. Hyun losing this third base early on already lost a bit of economy. We have Zealots over here. We have another Warp in Pylon over there. Void Rays are being built everywhere right now, and Hydras alone struggle against this. When you have reinforcements on the grounds, the Hydra just melt away, and especially later on if it goes into a late game, then we will also see Storm or Colossi, and that rapes Hydralisks. They have no chance against that. So this is really difficult. And Hyun is trying to hit a bit of a timing here. He's moving in with those Hydralisks right now, and to be quite frank, he could do a lot of damage with this. If his Hydra speed is done and he gets all the units down to the bottom right, he could at least pressure this third base. But it's not going to be easy, not at all, especially since we now have a supply, both of them on roughly the same level, and we already have 5 Void Rays, and also the Mothership Core that can always drop another Time Warp here. 3 additional Void Rays. This is just such a massive amount of DPS that he already has. This is crazy. Starting to the left side of the map, we have now the army position for Hyun. And Hyun is sending everything down to the bottom left now. He is waiting for his upgrade. He wants to have the Hydra speed. And currently, looking at this, so many Void Rays. And he saw it. He sees what's going on here. His Overseer sees what's happening. The Phoenix is immediately trying to take it down, moving in and attacking it right away. But Hyun... Oh, wow, sorry. A little bit late for that attack to the top right. Not too much lost, though. Harvesters lost at this point, 4 in total, losing a 5th one as we speak. But the Zealots, a good distraction for him. And Hyun with a Nidus network. Ooh, sexy. Very sexy. But does it change it? Does that really change a lot? First of all, he has to get a unit into position so that he can do anything with it. And the Void Rays alone are now going to do so much damage, especially with the Mothership Core being there. You can always recall. You can always just recall. And the transition is already taking place for Arthur. He's going into a Twilight Council. And that hatch did see everything that is going on in addition with the Overlord. And here we go. The Queens alone. Queens are really good, but are they good enough? He's just going to snipe to that. He's just going to snipe the lair and recalling out. Hyun not targeting down the mothership core here. And the lair is done. Here comes the recall. Nothing killed. The hatch here at the left side of the map is most likely going to fall as well. That is looking better and better for Arthur here. But Hyun is of course not out of this game just yet. Hyun not cancelling the hatch, and I cannot believe my eyes here. He's going to lose this. At least he should. He might have to sacrifice the Void Ray, but he's going to take down this hatch no matter what. Bam, there it is. Void Ray is gone. More are being built, and the only thing that I'm really waiting for is either a transition into Colossi or the added storm against those Hydralisks. That's the only thing that he would really need. Because charge zealots on the ground, that is also going to do it. Here comes the Hydra, the Nidus network for the Hydralisks at the front, and this could now do a lot. This is a timing where Hyun can do a massive amount of damage. There are not a lot of zealots yet, we don't have the charge upgrade, and we have 42 Hydralisks. And here we go. Moving in, another Nidus at the front. The zealots that he has are melting away on the ground. The force fields are decent though. Once again, the Nidus network is being placed down here, and the rest of the Hydralisks are moving in. The charge ability has already been used on the Void Base. Prismatic alignment is in action. Both sides are losing a lot of units, but so far, the better end for Arthur, and Hyun now sending in also his queens, trying to do as much damage as he possibly can. But those Void Rays, they just kill everything. They melt away the army of the Zerg player, and Hyun is now down to 106 supply. Arthur still has 11 Void Rays. He's still on 3 bases, and he is in a great position going into charge. Triple Void Ray production, and even a Dark Shrine now coming up. Void Rays are awesome, and Arthur, he knows about that. This is a strategy that works in Platin and that also works in Grandmaster, as you can see. Hyun trying to hit a timing, underestimating the power of the Void Rays a little bit, and probably not realizing how many there already were for Arthur. But the Protoss player doing everything right here. The snipe on the lair earlier, the mothership core being used very well, the early aggression against the third base. Well done. Really well done. Not enough queens for Hyun. Queens pretty decent against Void Rays, but he did not have enough. The one thing that you never want to do against Void Rays, of course, is use Corruptors, unless you have like the perfect ratio, which is very rarely the case. But for Hyun, the only thing that he has to do, like, this is about survival now. He has to do something to survive, and I actually don't know what. Because Hydras against Charge Zealots and DTs, maybe even Archons, I do not see that happening. As much as I like Hyun, this is not going down well for him. And Arthur, he's a great player. I talked a little bit about his style and also about his history early on. Former Slayers player that found a home with the Western Wolves, and now we have even a few units at the top. The DTs doing damage here, and a couple of DTs also over there at the natural. DTs are everywhere, and this main army, that is gonna be the main deal. But Hyun is already struggling to do something against those High Templars. Even the pool is now gone. The rest of the army is moving in, and this is going to be game, as Hyun lost a lot of his economy, and he's losing his main army now as well, as those Void Rays take charge quite literally, moving in and melting away Roaches, Hydralisks, Zerglings, Queens alike. No chance of Hyun to withstand this much DPS. GG, and we are heading into a Game 3 here at the ZOTAC Cup Monthly Final.